I never expected a single sentence spoken in front of 80 guests to shatter the last pieces of my respect for my husband's mother. But on the night of her 60th birthday, an evening she wanted to be grand, unforgettable, elegant, she managed to humiliate my 8-year-old daughter in a way I will never erase from memory. The ballroom was glowing with golden lights, glasses clinking, guests buzzing in expensive dresses. Everyone was smiling until Fiona, my sweet, shy little girl, walked toward her grandmother, holding a handmade birthday card she had spent 3 days perfecting. She had drawn flowers, balloons, and a little cartoon portrait of them together. She was so proud. And then my mother-in-law, Gloria, laughed. Not warmly, not kindly, but cruelly, loud enough for everyone at the table and the 2 waiters nearby to hear. "Oh, how cute," she said, lifting the card with 2 fingers like it might stain her. "But tell me, Fiona, are you even truly my real granddaughter?" The room froze. Fiona froze. My heart froze. Fiona's face crumpled instantly, her big brown eyes widening like she had just been slapped. She looked up at me, confused, the card still in her small hands. My husband, Daniel, tensed beside me but didn't move. As always, he was terrified of angering his mother. "What do you mean?" Fiona whispered, her voice trembling. Gloria leaned back in her decorated chair, swirling wine in her glass, clearly enjoying the attention. "Well," she said loudly, "everybody knows Daniel deserves a child who actually looks like him. This one," she waved dismissively toward the pris of a sad moment, bright and hot, and warm, fine coater, to carry all the sound of money, the son of the foal. I took Fiona's hand immediately and pulled her into my arms. She was shaking. "Mum, that's enough," Daniel finally managed to say, though his voice sounded weak even to me. But Gloria wasn't finished. She never stopped until she landed the deepest wound. "I'm just asking a question," she said with a mocking smile. "No harm in clarifying things. Unless, of course, there is something to hide." Fiona burst into tears against my chest. I carried Fiona out of the ballroom, my hand on her back, her sobs muffled against my dress. Every step away from the music and spotlight felt like peeling off a suffocating layer of humiliation. I brought her to an empty corridor near the restrooms where she could breathe. "Mummy, why did she say that?" Fiona choked through tears. "Why would Grandma think I wasn't her granddaughter? Did I do something wrong?" I knelt to meet her eyes, brushing the hair from her face. "Sweetheart, you did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing. Your granddaughter is wrong, terribly, cruelly wrong. You are my daughter. You are Daddy's daughter. You are loved. You are real." She sniffed, her tiny shoulders trembling. But she said, "I don't look like Daddy. You look like yourself," I said firmly, "and that's perfect." Daniel finally found us in the hallway, looking panicked and ashamed. He crouched beside Fiona and called her into a hug. "I'm so sorry, honey," he whispered. "Grandma shouldn't have said that. Ever. But the damage was done." Fiona cried silently the entire ride home, and I knew something inside me had shifted. Something big, something irreversible. That night, after Fiona finally cried herself to sleep, I sat alone in the living room with the lights off, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator and the storm of thoughts pounding in my head. My hands were still shaking. I replayed every second of that humiliation over and over. Gloria's cruel smile, the stunned silence of the guests, Fiona's trembling voice. Daniel walked in slowly, as if approaching a wild animal. "I don't know what to say," he murmured. "Welcome to my channel, Tales List. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new videos." "Then don't say anything," I replied coldly. Because nothing you say can undo what she did. He rubbed his face with both hands. She was drunk. She didn't mean. Stop, I stood. Do not defend her, not after tonight. I'm not defending her, he snapped. I'm just saying, she carried away. She likes attention. She humiliated your daughter on her birthday, I said, my voice rising. She questioned her existence. She implied I cheated, in front of 80 people. He winced. I know. It was awful, I repeated. It was abuse. Daniel didn't respond. He had no argument, just shame written all over his face. And for once, I didn't care about his guilt. I cared about my daughter, who was asleep upstairs with heartbreak she never deserved. Something had to change, and soon. The next morning, Fiona refused to come downstairs for breakfast. When I checked on her, she was sitting on her bed hugging a pillow, her eyes red and puffy. I don't want to see Grandma ever again, she whispered. You won't, I promised immediately. I won't let anyone hurt you like that again. She nodded, but didn't look convinced. The wound was too fresh, too deep. Daniel entered the room hesitantly, holding a tray with pancakes, the ones she loved. Sweetie, I made these for you. She turned her face away. That hurt him more than any words could have. I'll leave them here, he said gently, placing the plate on her nightstand. After he left, he stood outside the bedroom with his head against the wall. This is my fault, he whispered. I should have stopped her sooner. You can't change what she did, I said, but you can control what happens next. He looked at me slowly, fear flickering behind his eyes. What do you mean? I mean we're done with her, I said. No more visits, no more parties, no more pretending she's harmless. Daniel swallowed hard. She's still my mother. And Fiona is your daughter, I said. Choose wisely. He didn't answer. It took less than 12 hours for Gloria to start damage control. At noon, my phone buzzed with her name flashing across the screen. I let it ring until it stopped. 30 seconds later, she called again. I ignored it. After the 5th attempt, she switched to voicemail. The moment I heard her sugary voice, I felt my stomach twist. Well, darling, I think you're overreacting. It was just a joke. Fiona needs to toughen up. Children today are too sensitive. I deleted the message instantly. Then a text came in from her. Gloria, if you don't answer my calls, I'll come over myself. This drama needs to stop. Drama. That word made my blood boil. When Daniel got home from picking up groceries, I showed him the messages. His face drained of color. She's not coming here, I said. I'll talk to her, he muttered. But I didn't trust him to handle it. Not anymore. Because deep down, I knew what Gloria feared most. Losing control. Daniel finally gathered the courage to call his mother that evening. I stayed in the kitchen, arms crossed, listening to every muffled word through the thin walls. The conversation started calmly, too calmly. Daniel tried to explain that Fiona was hurt, that Gloria had crossed a line. But the second he mentioned the words real granddaughter, Gloria exploded. From the volume of her shrieks seeping through the phone, you'd think we had ruined her life. I was making a toast, she screamed. It was all in good fun. You two are so sensitive. I clenched my jaw. Good fun? Humiliating a child? And her voice sharpened like a knife. If she's so hurt, maybe you two should consider why. Kids know when something isn't right. They can feel it. I felt my hands trembling. She was doubling down, not apologizing, accusing. Daniel's tone changed instantly. Mum, stop. You're out of line. But Gloria didn't stop. She never stopped. You brought home a child who looks nothing like our family, and you expect me not to ask questions. I deserve the truth. My breath caught. I pressed a hand to the countertop to steady myself. Truth? She was now openly implying I had cheated. Daniel ended the call abruptly. His hands shook as he placed the phone on the table. "She's lost it," he whispered. "She's completely mussed it." "Good," I said coldly. "Now we know exactly who we're dealing with." 2 days passed, and Gloria escalated things further, as she always did when someone dared set a boundary. She started calling family members, spinning the narrative into a dramatic tale of her victimhood. By that evening, my sister-in-law, Alana, texted me. "Alana, Mom says you screamed at her and banned her from seeing Fiona." I laughed bitterly. Screamed. I hadn't raised my voice once. But that was how Gloria survived, by twisting stories before anyone else could speak. I replied, "Ask her what she said to Fiona first." Alana didn't answer. Later, I found out why. At 10 p.m., she showed up at our front door, breathless and furious. I opened it cautiously. "She didn't tell me what she said," Alana said, stepping inside. So I asked Fiona. My heart clenched. "What did she say?" "That grandma thinks she's not a real granddaughter," Alana finished, exhaling shakily. "Oh my God, she's just a kid. What the hell is wrong with Mum?" For the first time in years, Alana wasn't defending her. Daniel came downstairs surprised to see his sister. She hugged him tightly. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. Something shifted that night. A crack formed, wide enough for the truth to start leaking through the family. The next weekend, we told Fiona we were skipping the usual Sunday lunch at Gloria's house. Her reaction broke my heart. Instead of disappointment, she looked relieved, like a weight had lifted off her tiny shoulders. "Do I have to see her again?" she asked quietly. "No," I said firmly. "Not if you don't want to." Daniel nodded beside me. "We're taking a break from Grandma." Fiona hugged him tightly. That hug was everything. For once, Daniel wasn't the quiet, conflict-avoiding son Gloria controlled. He was a father. My respect for him grew in that moment, but peace was short-lived. At exactly 4 p.m., Gloria arrived at our house unannounced, banging on the door like a debt collector. When I didn't open, she started shouting loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "I deserve to see my grandchild! You can't keep her from me!" Daniel froze. Fiona, terrified, ran to her room. I stepped forward. "Don't open it," I told him, but he already had, and Gloria burst inside like a storm. "You both are sick," she yelled, pointing at me. "She poisoned you against me." "I want a DNA test to prove Fiona is actually yours." My vision blurred. Even Daniel looked stunned. But the worst part, she didn't say it quietly. She said it loud enough for Fiona to hear from upstairs. Fiona came down the stairs slowly, her face pale, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "A DNA test?" she asked in a small, shaky voice. "What's that?" The room went silent. Gloria turned to her with fake sympathy. "Oh, sweetheart, it's just a little test to show who your real family is. I'm sure it won't hurt much." "Gloria, stop!" I shouted. But it was too late. Fiona's face crumpled. She dropped the rabbit. She ran to me and clung to my waist, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. Daniel finally snapped. "Get out," he growled at his mother. "Mom, get out of my house, now." "Not until she agrees to the test," Gloria spat, pointing at me. "I said, get out," Daniel roared. Gloria actually stumbled back, shocked. She had never heard her son raise his voice at her. He grabbed her coat, shoved it into her hands, and opened the door. She hesitated, trembling with fury, before she hissed, "You're making a mistake choosing her over your own mother." Daniel's voice was like ice. "I'm choosing my wife and daughter. Good night." He slammed the door in her face. I held Fiona as she sobbed into my chest, her little body shaking uncontrollably. This was no longer just family drama. This was psychological warfare. The next morning, Fiona refused to get out of bed. This was a girl who usually woke up before sunrise, eager to draw pictures or help me make pancakes. But that day, she curled into a ball under her blanket, refusing to speak. When I finally coaxed her to look at me, her eyes were swollen. "Mom," she whispered, "am I yours?" I felt something inside me shatter. I pulled her into my arms. "You are mine in every way that matters. You are my daughter, my only daughter." My heart. But Grandma said. Grandma was wrong, I interrupted firmly. She said something cruel because she wanted to hurt me and your dad. None of what she said is true. Fiona nodded slowly, but I could see she wasn't convinced. The damage had been done. Daniel overheard everything from the doorway. I saw the look in his eyes, a mixture of guilt and fury. "That's it," he said quietly. "DNA test or not, I'm done with her." I didn't fight him. For once, we were completely aligned, but Gloria wasn't going away, not even close. By Tuesday, Gloria escalated again, this time in a way none of us expected. I was picking up Fiona from school when her teacher, Miss Raymond, approached me with a concerned expression. Fiona's grandmother came earlier today," she said cautiously. I nearly choked. "She what?" "She tried to sign Fiona out. Said you forgot to put her on the pickup list, but she had permission. She even used the office phone to try calling you." My blood ran cold. Gloria had tried to take her. Take her! Thankfully, the school followed policy and refused to release Fiona without my explicit authorization. I apologized to the teacher, though it was Gloria who should have been apologizing to all of us. After we left the building, Fiona squeezed my hand tightly. "Mum, was she trying to take me away because I'm not really Dad's kid?" I knelt in front of her on the sidewalk. "No one is taking you anywhere. Ever." But she didn't believe that either. Gloria had planted seeds of doubt deeper than I realized. That night, I told Daniel everything. He went silent, then walked to the living room and punched the wall. I knew that was a reality, of all in no way. "We are filing a restraining order," he said. We spent the next day in a courthouse lobby, filling out paperwork, while Fiona colored on a bench beside us. Daniel kept checking the clock, running a hand through his hair over and over. When our turn came, the clerk reviewed our documents and nodded sympathetically. "I thought that the home of television was so impossible," she said softly. That was the perfect word for Gloria. We submitted evidence, the school incident, text messages, a written statement from Alana confirming the birthday humiliation. As we left the courthouse, Daniel exhaled shakily. "I never thought I'd be doing this to my own mother." "You're not doing this to her," I said. "You're doing this for Fiona." He nodded, but he looked broken. Later that evening, Gloria sent him a message, long, unhinged, and venomous. "Gloria, if you file anything against me, I'll tell everyone the truth about that child. I'll tell the entire family what you're trying to hide. You think a restraining order will stop me? I will get my grandchild back." "Get her back, like she was property?" Daniel deleted the message without replying. "She wants war," he muttered. "Fine. She'll get it." 2 days passed quietly, too quietly. Then came the breaking point. We were home finishing dinner when someone banged violently on the front door. My stomach dropped. Daniel immediately stepped forward, peering through the peephole. "It's my mother," he whispered. I grabbed Fiona and carried her upstairs. She trembled against my shoulder. "Is she mad at me again?" "No, baby," I whispered. "She's not coming in." Downstairs, Gloria screamed like a banshee. "Let me see my grandchild. You can't keep her from me." Daniel didn't open the door. This time, he refused. The shouting grew louder. Then she started kicking the door. Welcome to my channel, Tales List. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon so you don't miss any new videos. When the officers arrived, Gloria was still screaming, wild, frantic, losing all sense of dignity. They escorted her away, but the entire neighborhood had heard. Fiona cried in her room the rest of the night. Why does Grandma hate me so much? I held her tightly until she fell asleep. Daniel sat outside her door with his head in his hands. We were a family under siege. The restraining order was approved the next morning. Gloria was officially barred from approaching us, or Fiona's school, or our home. She was furious, of course. She left Daniel a voicemail filled with threats and curses, which we forwarded to the police. But something else happened that same day. Alana showed up unexpectedly, carrying 2 grocery bags and wearing the expression of someone who had cried recently. I brought food, she said softly. And I'm not on Mum's side anymore. I've seen enough. We invited her in. She told us Gloria had been spiraling, drinking, ranting, calling extended relatives with wild accusations about infidelity, secret children, and bloodlines. Then Alana hesitated. There's something else, she said. Mum, she's telling people she has proof Fiona isn't Daniel's. I stared at her. Proof? What proof? Alana shook her head. Nothing. She's lying. She knows she's lying. But she's desperate. And when Mum gets desperate, she gets dangerous. Daniel closed his eyes, exhausted. We need to end this. Completely. That's when I made the decision. I'll take the DNA test, I said. Daniel's eyes snapped open. No, you shouldn't have to. I know, but this isn't about fairness anymore. It's about Fiona. Silence. Then he nodded slowly. Okay, then I'll take one too. Alana exhaled in relief. For the first time since the disaster began, we had a plan, and we were going to end this nightmare on our terms. We scheduled the DNA test for the upcoming Monday. I didn't sleep the night before. My mind kept replaying every awful thing Gloria had said, every poisonous whisper she had planted. Not because I doubted Fiona's parentage, but because I feared what Gloria would do after we proved her wrong. When the morning came, Daniel drove us to the clinic in complete silence. Fiona sat in the back seat, gently brushing her doll's hair. Mum, she asked as we parked. Are they taking me away? My chest tightened painfully. No, sweetheart, we're just doing a silly test to prove something to Grandma. After that, everything will go back to normal. Daniel added softly, You're our daughter. Nothing will ever change that. At the clinic, the process was simple, just a cheek swab for each of us. Fiona giggled because it tickled, breaking the tension for a moment. Afterward, Daniel squeezed my hand. Whatever happens, I'm with you. I nodded. And I'm with you. But both of us wondered the same thing. Would this truly stop Gloria, or would it only fuel her obsession? We didn't tell Gloria about the test immediately, but she found out anyway. 3 days later, she posted a long, unhinged rant on Facebook. Public, dramatic, full of accusations. She claimed Daniel was being manipulated, that I was hiding secrets, and that she demanded full custody rights as a biological grandmother. She even tagged Fiona's school. That was the final straw for the administration. They called us and advised us to change our pickup password and update Fiona's restricted contact list. I felt humiliated. Every teacher, every staff member had likely seen Gloria's meltdown. But something unexpected happened too. Messages started pouring into my inbox. From cousins, old family friends, even neighbors, people offering support. Some had gone no contact with Gloria years ago. Others apologized for not speaking up sooner. A few said they always suspected her behavior would escalate. One message stood out. She did the same to me when I had my first child. Get out while you still can. It shook me. How many families had she broken? How many children had she traumatized? Maybe it was time to stop surviving and start protecting, not just Fiona, but ourselves. The results came in on a Friday afternoon. I sat on the couch with the envelope in my hands, fingers trembling. Daniel stood beside me, shoulders tense. You open it, he whispered. I tore the seal slowly, carefully, as if the paper might explode. My eyes scanned the document. Then I laughed, a small, breathless laugh that released weeks of tension. Daniel, I murmured, handing in the paper. You're her father. 100%. He let out a shaky exhale, eyes watering. Of course I am. Fiona watched us curiously from across the room. Is it done? Are we okay now? I pulled her into my arms. Yes, baby. We're more than okay. We considered announcing it publicly, but ultimately decided not to. The results weren't for the world, they were for us. Daniel texted a photo of the document to Alana. Alana, thank God, I'll handle Mum. But we didn't send it to Gloria. Not because we were afraid, but because we realized something. Nothing we ever proved would change her. She didn't want the truth. She wanted control, and we were done giving it to her. Gloria, however, wasn't done. When she learned through Alana that the DNA test confirmed Daniel's paternity, she lost whatever remained of her composure. She sent Daniel a string of furious messages, accusing him of forging the results, bribing the clinic, or manipulating the system. Then she showed up at Alana's house, pounding on the door, screaming that the family legacy was being destroyed. Alana finally snapped. She told her mother, in front of several neighbors, that she was choosing us over Gloria's delusions and that Gloria needed help. Real help. The next morning, we found out Gloria had been hospitalized after a breakdown. Alana didn't give many details, only that her mother was in no condition to contact anyone. Part of me felt relief, part of me felt pity, but mostly I felt something new, peace. For the first time in months, our home felt safe again. Daniel hugged Fiona a little tighter that evening. I made her favorite dinner. We laughed, we breathed, we healed. And yet, in the back of my mind, I knew we needed one more step to close this chapter forever. A week later, Daniel and I sat at our kitchen table, paperwork spread before us. It was time to make our decision official. We weren't just going no contact. We were filing for a permanent no contact order. No more second chances. No more emotional blackmail. No more access, ever. Fiona played in the living room while we signed each page. Mum, she called out, can I show you my drawing? I walked over to her. She had drawn our family, me, Daniel, herself, and our dog. All holding hands, all smiling, no grandmother in the picture. Do you like it? She asked. I love it, I replied, kissing her forehead. It hit me then. Fiona already understood what peace looked like. Don't, said Fiona. She drew our future before we even finished choosing it. That night, Daniel held me as we lay in bed. Do you think Fiona will forget all of this someday? He whispered. No, I said honestly, but she'll remember how we protected her. He nodded. Then that's enough. Outside, the world felt quiet. Inside, our family finally felt whole. The next morning, before the sun even rose, the universe reminded us that peace never arrives without one final storm. At 6:12 a.m., my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it until something in my gut said pick up. Hello? A trembling voice answered. Is this Fiona's mother? Yes. Who is this? This is Margaret, the woman whispered, Eleanor's neighbor. My breath caught. I'm sorry to call so early, she continued, but I thought you should know. Eleanor is outside. She's sitting in her car, has been there since yesterday evening. I'm worried about her. I didn't know what to say. A part of me instinctively felt alarm, but another part felt the weight of every insult, every humiliation, every manipulation she had inflicted on us for years. Daniel woke up beside me, rubbing his eyes. Who is it? He mumbled. I put the phone on speaker. She keeps saying, the neighbor continued softly, they took my family, they took my granddaughter. She won't eat, she won't go inside. I think she's waiting for you to come. Daniel sat up fully. His face fell. That's not good, he muttered. But I wasn't ready to drown in guilt, not after everything she'd done. Has she bothered anyone? I asked. No, the neighbor said. She's just broken. I've never seen her like this. Broken. That word echoed in the room like a warning. When the call ended, Daniel stared at the wall for a long minute. Maybe we should go check on her, he whispered. I shook my head immediately. No, that's exactly the trap. She wants us to feel responsible. She learned that shame tactics didn't work, fear didn't work, anger didn't work, so now she's trying pity. Daniel swallowed. You think it's another manipulation? I know it is. But deep down, I also knew something darker. A person capable of destroying a child's self-worth is capable of destroying herself to make a push. This wasn't just manipulation anymore. This wasn't just manipulation. It was escalation. And escalation from Eleanor had never, ever ended well. By noon, the situation had escalated again, but not in the way we expected. Daniel's phone rang. It was the police. Mr. Harris, the officer said, his tone tense. We're calling regarding a welfare check on your mother. Daniel shot me a startled look. A welfare check? We didn't request one. No, the officer replied. A neighbor did. When we arrived, your mother refused to leave her vehicle. She insisted she was being kept from her granddaughter against her will. She became agitated. My stomach twisted. Agitated. With Eleanor, that word usually meant one thing. She was staging a spectacle. The officer continued. We attempted to escort her home, but she resisted. She's currently being evaluated at the hospital for signs of emotional distress. Daniel closed his eyes, exhaling shakily. Is she hurt? Not physically, the officer answered. But she's very upset. She requested you specifically. I shook my head instantly. No, we can't go. Absolutely not. Daniel hesitated. Sir, the officer added. She said she wouldn't calm down unless she saw the child. She claims you're hiding Fiona from her. I felt my chest tighten. There it was. The final play. The nuclear button of manipulative elders. I need the child to survive. This wasn't grief. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't love. It was the last desperate attempt to force us back under her control. Daniel looked at me helplessly. What do we do? I took his hands in mine. We protect our daughter, I said. That's what we do. She doesn't get to traumatize Fiona to soothe her own ego. He rubbed his forehead, fighting guilt. I know, it's just, she's my mother. And I'm your wife, I said softly. And Fiona is your daughter, and we are your family now. He nodded, and in that moment I watched him make the choice his mother always feared. He chose us. He called the officer back. We won't be coming, he said firmly. And my daughter will not be present. Please ensure she doesn't come near our home. The officer agreed, though I could hear the discomfort in his tone. But that didn't matter. We had drawn a line no guilt could erase. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel wrapped his arms around after 2 deaths. He murmured to celebrate. I felt the power shift completely to us. 3 days later, the true consequences of Eleanor's actions finally came crashing down. It started with an email from her attorney. Yes, her attorney. The subject line alone made my stomach drop. Notice of intent to seek grandparent visitation rights. I nearly laughed in disbelief. She had torn down our boundaries, humiliated our daughter, staged public meltdowns, and now she wanted legal access. Daniel read the email twice before he spoke. She's trying to force contact, he whispered, voice shaking. She's actually trying to drag Fiona into court. My hands trembled. This wasn't manipulation anymore. This wasn't emotional warfare. This was a direct attack. She's hoping the legal pressure will break us, I said. Daniel nodded grimly. But here's the thing Eleanor never anticipated. Her meltdown outside her house had been witnessed by half the neighborhood. And several had made official statements during the welfare check. We had evidence. We had documentation. We had a pattern of emotional abuse stretching back years. And most importantly, we had Fiona's therapist on our side. Dr. Lewis didn't hesitate when we called. Absolutely not, she said. Fiona cannot be forced into contact with someone who undermines her identity and safety, or provide all necessary testimony. Daniel slumped into his chair, relief washing over him. But the storm wasn't done. 2 hours later, another message came, this time from a family friend. "I thought you should know," the message read. "Eleanor is telling everyone that you're keeping Fiona away for revenge. She's making herself out to be the victim." I closed my eyes, letting out a tired exhale. Of course she was. When control fails, narcissists turn to pity. When pity fails, they turn to public smear campaigns. And when those fail, they implode. And that's exactly what happened next, because the following day, someone unexpected reached out. Eleanor's sister, Aunt Joanne, a woman we barely knew. Her message was short, almost painfully so. "I've heard what's been happening. I believe you. I have something you need to know. Something about Eleanor." Daniel and I exchanged a look. "What does she mean?" he murmured. "I don't know," I whispered. "But I think the real story is just beginning." What came next would change the way Daniel saw his mother forever. And it would make one thing unmistakably clear. We weren't running away from Eleanor. We were escaping a legacy of harm she'd passed down for decades. Aunt Joanne arrived at our house the very next morning. She looked nervous, hands clasped tightly, eyes darting as if Eleanor might burst through the door at any moment. Daniel guided her inside, offering tea, though she barely touched it. "I'm sorry," she began, her voice trembling. "I should have said something years ago, but I didn't want to interfere. And Eleanor, well, she can be dangerous when crossed." Dangerous. The word chilled me. Daniel leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Joanne swallowed hard, gathering herself. "You're not the first family she's tried to control," she said. "You're not the first she's hurt. And Fiona, she's not the first child she's targeted." My chest tightened. "What are you talking about?" I whispered. Joanne stared at the floor for a long moment before finally lifting her gaze. "She did the same thing to me when my daughter, Lily, was young," she said. "The same accusations, the same humiliation. She even demanded a DNA test from my husband." My breath caught. Daniel froze. She did this before?" he asked, barely audible. Joanne nodded, and not just once. 3 different cousins have cut contact with Eleanor completely. She can't stand the idea of anyone else having joy, love, or a family that doesn't revolve around her. She wiped her eyes. She destroys bonds because she doesn't know how to build them. Daniel's face crumpled, not from sadness, but from realization. "Why didn't you tell me?" he whispered. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" Joanne shook her head. "Because she always praised you. You were her pride, a perfect son. If any of us warned you, she'd punish us. And we didn't want you caught in the crossfire." Silence filled the room. Then Joanne reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. Thick, worn, stuffed with papers. "These are statements," she said, "from relatives, from neighbors, from teachers, from people who saw how she treated us. We tried reporting her once, but she manipulated her way out." She slid the envelope across the table toward Daniel. "But now, you have a child to protect. And you have a chance to break the cycle." Daniel stared at the envelope, his hands trembling. "I don't know if I can read this," he whispered. "You have to," Joanne said gently. "Not for her, for Fiona." We sat with her for over an hour, listening to story after story, each one a mirror of our own experiences. The favoritism, the manipulation, the emotional sabotage, the public scenes, the humiliation of children to assert dominance. Piece by piece, the image of Eleanor that Daniel had clung to all his life began to erode. At the end, Joanne stood to leave. "I'm proud of you," she told him softly. "Most of us didn't escape until we were old. You're doing it now. And you're doing it for your daughter." She squeezed his hand and left quietly. When the door closed, Daniel broke. He sobbed into my shoulder, years of denial collapsing all at once. "My whole childhood," he choked. "She made me believe she was the victim. She made me believe everyone else was cruel." I stroked his back, tears slipping down my own cheeks. "She can't hurt you anymore," I whispered, "and she will never hurt Fiona again." He held me tighter, and for the first time since this nightmare began, he finally saw the truth. A month passed before we heard anything else from Eleanor. Not a call, not a message, not even a legal notice, just silence. The courts had reviewed her petition for forced visitation and denied it almost immediately, citing the therapist's report, police statements from the welfare check, and multiple eyewitness accounts of her public outbursts. Legally, she had no footing. Emotionally, she had no leverage. And socially, her mask had finally cracked. It was over. One quiet morning, I found Daniel sitting in Fiona's room. She was asleep in his lap, her wild curls spilling across his chest. He was staring at the wall, deep in thought. "What are you thinking about?" I whispered. He didn't look up. "I used to think I owed her my loyalty," he said softly. "For raising me, for putting a roof over my head, for being my mother." He brushed a lock of hair from Fiona's forehead. "But now I know. Parents don't earn gratitude by giving life. They earn it by protecting it." I sat beside him, placing my hand over his. "We did the right thing," I said. "I know," he whispered. "And one day, Fiona will know too." Later that afternoon, we decided to take a family walk. The sun was warm, the snow melting in soft patches on the sidewalks. Fiona held our hands, swinging her arms between us. "Mummy," she asked. "Yes, sweetheart. Are we having a birthday party this year? For Daddy?" Daniel smiled. "I think we will," he said. "Just us." "And can we invite Aunt Joanne?" she added. She was nice. I exchanged a glance with Daniel. "Yes," I said. "We can invite her." Fiona grinned and skipped ahead of us, her boots crunching in the snow. Watching her, light, carefree, untouched by the storm behind us, I felt something shift inside me. Peace, not just the absence of chaos, but the presence of freedom. That night, after Fiona went to bed, Daniel and I sat by the fireplace with cups of tea. "Do you think she'll ever apologize?" he asked quietly. "Eleanor?" I shook my head. "No, she'll rewrite the story in her head. She'll cast herself as the victim. She'll never see the damage she caused." He sighed. "But that's not our burden anymore," I added. "She no longer gets to shape our lives." Daniel took my hand, kissing my knuckles gently. "I'm proud of us," he murmured, "for choosing Fiona over fear, for choosing each other over the illusion of family." I leaned my head against his shoulder. "We built something she could never understand," I whispered. "Love without conditions. Family without cruelty." For the first time in months, we fell asleep without tension in our chests. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Our home became quieter, brighter, kinder. Fiona flourished, her confidence returned. Her laughter filled every room. The shadow that Eleanor had cast for years evaporated completely. On the evening of Daniel's newly reclaimed birthday, Fiona handed him a handmade card, decorated with stars and tiny hearts. Inside it read, in her messy handwriting, "Thank you for choosing me." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. And in that moment, I knew the truth. The greatest gift we ever gave our daughter wasn't a toy, a trip, or a celebration. It was freedom. Freedom from doubt. Freedom from cruelty. Freedom from people who mistake control for love. Our story didn't end with reconciliation. It ended with liberation. And for the first time, our family wasn't surviving. We were finally living.